There's a version of you that you don't talk about much anymore. Not because it didn't matter, but because you're hoping distance alone will make it go away. You moved on, but somehow it keeps showing up. Most people think the way forward is to leave the past behind. But what if the reason it keeps catching up to you is because it was never actually released? Outrunning your former self doesn't always look obvious. Sometimes it looks like avoiding certain memories or conversations, or staying super productive so you don't have time to think about what's going on or what's happened, or reinventing yourself without first reconciling who you were, or telling yourself, that's not me anymore, and then hoping it sticks. And on the surface, it works for a while until a familiar feeling shows up again. The guilt, the memory, the sense that something unfinished is still tagging along. Here's the truth most people never hear. You can change environments, you can change habits, you can even change identities, but you can't outrun a story that was never brought to a close. That's why in the Bible you see something really consistent. People don't just leave old seasons behind, they return to them on purpose. Jacob has to go back and face Esau before moving forward. Joseph has to name what happened before he actually steps into being an authority in the next season of his life. Peter returns back to fishing, but Jesus meets him there, not to shame him, but to restore him. Not because the past defines them, but because your unfaced history quietly directs your future. You can't outrun who you used to be, because what hasn't been faced keeps trying to finish the conversation. Once you see that, the cycle makes sense. This is why just don't think about it, or that's the old you, or just let the past be the past. They only work temporarily. Avoidance feels like freedom until it turns into tension. And eventually, what you're avoiding starts influencing your future self. If becoming your future self actually matters to you, here's a free 7-day reset that's linked below. It's designed to help you make sense and make peace with what's behind you so it doesn't keep pulling at what's ahead. Here's the shift that changes everything. Instead of asking, how do I leave that version of me behind? Ask, what needs to be acknowledged so I don't have to keep running? Because closure is an erasure, it's integration. And once something has its place in your story, it stops chasing you for attention. You might even build off of it. Your former self doesn't need to be erased. It needs to be understood. That's how you move forward with a pep in your step. Not because your past disappeared, but because it no longer controls the direction you're headed in. If this resonated, subscribe to the King Me Movement. We put out a new daily rise reflection every day. And if you want to go deeper, the free Move Past the Past reset is linked below. Remember, this throne only points to one thing: your royalty. Live royal, fam. Love y'all.